All right, today on the show, we're stepping away from just entertainment to talk about something that matters deeply. He's one of Nollywood's rising stars. His gripping turn as Inspector Onome Ejoor to Kill a Monkey put him firmly in the spotlight. But behind the camera, he has also been bravely sharing his own struggles with depression and suicidal thoughts. As Suicide Awareness Month continues, this is a chance to hear his own story in his own words, not just as an actor, but as a survivor and advocate. Michael Ejoor, welcome to J on Air. Good to have you on this show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
I mean, I saw you, I think 1 week or 2 weeks ago, and I said, I want to have you on the show. And you said, call me anytime.
Yeah.
And here we're having this conversation. So thank you so much for being here.
I didn't think you would call me this week, but yeah, call me anytime.
How have you been?
I'm good.
You've been working back to back. Apart from To Kill a Monkey, you are in Ginger, you are in Weekend, you are in everything. So what's happening? You're having a moment right now. How are you feeling?
Actually am, and I'm really, really grateful. Fun fact, I was talking to Efemini, as many of you would know him, William Benson. I was talking to him 2 days ago, and you know, we're both Christians, and we shared Ecclesiastes 3:11. We said he makes all things beautiful in his time. Yeah. You know, I worked with William Benson first on Unbroken. It's a telenovela which lasted for a year. I worked with him on that in 2019, and she was incredibly fantastic. Everybody kept going on about his performance. I remember then, you know, and he has worked so hard. That was 6 years ago, you know, and it looks like that's such a long time to find your moments in the light. But when you find your moments in the light, it's like literally non-stop, and it's just such a blessing, you know. So
how long have you been acting for?
2017. So what's that? 8 years? Yeah.
Yeah, about that. So how hard is it, you know, to have acted as long as you've acted? You know, I know you've spoken about God makes things beautiful in his own time, but at the same time, it's hard being in that space. You know, I think when things begin to pick up, you are in a happier place. Yeah. But the in between, you know. So talk to us a bit about that in between when it didn't seem like you were getting enough accolades. I mean, you were definitely getting work. I knew you on screen, but you know, not as much as people know you now, and not as many projects as you're involved in now. So talk to us a bit about that.
Literally, nobody prepares you for that, and I feel like that's the hardest thing in. Whenever I'm also, what's the hardest thing about being in Nollywood? It has nothing to do with the actual production and filmmaking. It has to do with exactly what you have asked me. Because I know we've said he makes all things beautiful in his time, and people say that God doesn't have calendar. Me, I have calendar. I have calendar. I have two set for my phone, Google, and the one that came with Apple. And I'm watching and I'm counting, and Christmas has come and it have go, and Easter have come and it have go, and I've seen that another year has passed and nothing has happened. And it is very demotivating, you know. And look, I was talking to Michael Onome Ejoor. I don't know what we went for. We went for the Sana Beauty launch, Jemima and Adesuwa's beauty brand. Yeah, and I was talking with him, you know, and he said to me, you know, don't put too much pressure on a project to blow you. But that's the thing, you think every project will blow you. I promise you. You become delusional and think that even this short film that you shot for one day can blow you. Like, you just, because you are so hopeful as a creative, you know, a musician, an artist, whatever you are, you get really, really hopeful that every project is going to do that, and you put too much pressure on it. Fun fact, I didn't think that To Kill a Monkey would do anything for me.
Really?
I did. As a matter of fact, if you go and check my social media, I didn't post the first 2 days because I just said, what is inside the role that anybody is going to remember? And then the second AD messaged me on the second day saying, go to Twitter, you are trending. I said, trending, that's what happened. I didn't even watch it. I switched off my phone because I was in that place. I started falling into a depressive state, you know, and I was like, yeah, this is going to be a thing. I didn't have that big monologue or something like that, you know. No, they are poor person, no. Do you understand? I didn't have that moment. Do you understand? So I was like, but you just don't know.
Yeah. What was it about this project? Because I know you said you didn't have that monologue moment, but To Kill a Monkey, everybody, you know, seemed to be getting the accolades. And we had Lillian Afekbai on the show here, and
I
said
listened
something about, you know, Kemi wanting everybody to shine. You know, Chioma Kuko, I'm sorry, Selena Masters had a moment, you had a moment, Lillian Afekbai had a moment, everybody had their moment. So what was it about this project? Even though you said you didn't think it was going to do anything for you, but what was different? Because it just felt different. Usually the lead actor, maybe co-lead, but not as many people. So what do you think made this one different?
Jay, the thing touched me. The rain touched me. It shocked me. My life has changed. Like, it has absolutely changed. I don't want to name drop or brand drop or something, but like, my management would say to me, "Oh, we reached out to these people," and I'm like, they know who I am?
Of course.
Really? Like, I'm just I'm shocked, and definitely I feel like there's just a moment, when we think of Odogo Parara, that was that moment. Do you understand? There's just a moment and you just can't explain it. But I have to also give Kemi her accolades because, like Lillian said, she made sure every single person shined. She did. Like, I really wish, this is recorded, right? I can send you that screenshot, and I will, so you can superimpose it on here, where she said to me, "I was thinking about you this morning, and I wrote, we rejigged your character a bit to give it more of a bite."
Wow.
She was thinking of all of us. We hadn't gotten to set then.
Wow.
She was thinking of every single person. Wow. I wasn't her lead character. Yes, I had quite a number of scenes, but that it rested upon a Buzz and a Femini. But she thought about me and said, "This boy is supposed to bite too now. Make it bite."
Do something.
Yeah.
Do something. Do you think that that's one thing that is really lacking in Nollywood?
Yes.
Because, we're constantly training our projects. YouTube has become such a huge moment right now. Do you think that is what it's like? We know Kemi releases movies, like Adele releases albums. Like, Kemi's going to take her time, but we know she's working. Adele is obviously working on something, but we won't know until it's out. Do you think that is what is happening? Because we're seeing a lot of people that have also been in movies, that have done stuff, but maybe the directors are not, giving them this much attention. Do you think that is one major issue that's happening in Nollywood?
Yes, definitely. I feel, and shout out to our writers, our storytellers. We're doing amazing. I'll forever keep shouting about Nollywood. I said it in another interview that I'm so pro Nollywood. I like our acting, I like our stories, I like the cultural impact, and I'll go on and on and on about it. But something that I've realized, especially with a typical TV film, is very linear in terms of storytelling. The load rests so much upon the male lead and the female lead, forgetting that supporting characters actually carry these stories. Do you know what I mean? They sometimes the supporting character, carries a story so much that it helps buttress what the lead character or the supporting character, the protagonist, the antagonist, whatever, has to achieve, what their goal is. They have lives of their own. And when we think of storytelling, you approach a story not like it's a story, but as if it is life. I'm on the J on Air show. It's your show. Yeah. But I have a life of my own. Do you understand? And my life is independent of your life, even though this is your show. Do you understand? So we have to think of the fact that these supporting characters have independent lives and independent stories. They are not living their lives to help. I'm not living my life to push your show up. Do you understand? But we write sometimes like these people are living their lives to uplift
the leads, and like their stories are not as important. Amazing. Thank you so much for highlighting that. And we will come back to some conversations around Nollywood. But the major reason that I wanted to have you here is I know you're having such a moment, and I just feel like this is something to highlight. This is Suicide Awareness Month. And we saw the post that you made. We saw the repost. We saw the likes. We saw everything. And the comments, and a lot of people could relate to that message. So for people that don't know, take us back to that moment that you decided that, I want to share with the world that, that I have tried to take my life not once, not twice. Why did you decide that, you wanted to share that with the world? You're having such a huge moment now. The attention could just be on your acting and on the work that you're doing. Why did you want to also highlight this?
See, this thing will never be easy to talk about. Literally, see. Every single time, I don't know why this happens to me, and why I'm shaking, not because of what I went through, is because of that singular line that you said that so many people can relate. I hate it so much that people can relate. I really hate it so much. I really do. It happened, the experience I shared about happened 3 years ago. I had put it so far behind me that when I was telling the story, when I was recording it, I had to do a recall because I'd locked it in a box so far at the back of my mind. I didn't see myself ever many people didn't know about that. People who are close to me, I've known you for how many years? Never brought that up, with you or anything like that. I just don't talk about it. Do you know what I mean? But I was talking to Omomi Dada, and she just said, so many people have so much to learn from you, because she knew about it. When it happened 3 years ago, she knew about it. And she was just so excited for me and kept referencing that moment. And she just said that this is just something. She said it in passing, but I just couldn't stop thinking about it. I was on set, and I hope that I didn't act nonsense that day, because it was just embedded in my mind, and I just had to. And the amount of messages that I've gotten just made it worth it. I almost deleted it after I posted it. And 20 minutes after, I went to go and delete it. But luckily, I was on the phone with my manager, and he begged me. He said, please don't. He said, please. So what I did instead was I just switched off my phone, And when I came back about 8 hours later, I was just like, wow. And it really hurts that there are so many people, so many people that are going through such tough times, people who are dealing with depression or know someone dealing with depression and things like that. And I'm not saying this to sound noble, but it's kind of like I was living in a bubble of my own, hoping that I was the only person, or maybe we're just like 5 or something, but the numbers are staggering.
Yeah. All right. So you shared this, and, I know that this is such a private but still deep moment. But before we even continue in that conversation, you mentioned your manager twice. Speaking to him about your acting, but also a manager that wants you to still share your personality. We don't have a lot of people that have management like that. Managers just want to make money. So talk to us a bit about that relationship. Have you had management or a manager that was not as concerned? Because this present manager seems like he or she, is really doing things in your interest, not just about the money. So talk to us a bit about that relationship, and if you've had to deal with people that were not really interested in you as a person, but more about the financial benefit.
Yeah, 101%. As a matter of fact, sometimes I say to Tayo, I'm like, Tayo, please, I want to make money. Don't. Tayo is hands down the best manager I've ever had. I've had management before, but hands down, the best manager I've ever had. It's actually a team, Tayo and Akinwale, but I've known Tayo longer, so I might refer to him a bit more. But it's a team of people, and, both of them, they care about my well-being. Tayo literally wakes up in the morning, and, he'll send me a message, how can I make your day easier? That is literally, and I remember he sent me that yesterday, and I said to him, are you AI? Why is this same message every day? But literally, he shows that he's there to make my life easier, and he's so interested in the cultural and mental, physical, emotional impact that I can have on society. So he's like, yes, let's put a lot of acting work in your calendar, but please, can we leave this for this? Can we leave this for that? Oh, you're good with this, you're good with that, you're good with children, let's do this, and this and that. I know this is not bringing money, but you see, this is why we have these things, so that we can focus on these things, and it's such a breath of fresh air, I'll be honest. I'm gonna have to look into my camera for this so that I can talk directly to Tayo. I appreciate you. I know I say it, but I'm saying it, and so many viewers out there appreciate you. Olutayo Dueke, I really appreciate you. Akinwale, I really appreciate you guys and what you're doing. I know you're behind the cameras, but you guys are amazing.
That's a moment. A moment for clapping. Let's clap for that. All right, so let's come back to this conversation, because I said, we're highlighting this conversation because you did share this on social media, and this is Suicide Awareness Month. And I think that a lot of people don't even know that a month like this exists, And you even mentioned that you didn't know until somebody, I think Priscilla, a therapist, brought it to your notice that this is actually Suicide Awareness Month. How many years ago were you diagnosed with clinical depression? Because she did share in that video that you were diagnosed. How many years ago were you diagnosed with it? And what was that? Were you diagnosed here in Nigeria, outside the country? And when you got that diagnosis, did that answer questions about things that you had been through in the past?
Yeah.
So talk to us a bit about that.
Yeah, 100%. To answer your latter question, it did. It did explain a lot, but I would then answer from the beginning cumulatively. I speak English too much. I read cumulatively. Yeah, 14 years ago.
Wow.
Yes, it was about around February 2011. Yes, I graduated in 2010, and so I'd just come back to Nigeria in December of 2010, and in 2011 I was diagnosed. Did I know I was depressed? Yes, but I ran away from it. I knew, a part of me knew, I was moving shady, and I knew that I'd been living with depression, but I didn't want to. Accepting something is always the hardest thing, actually. Accepting even good things, accepting love is hard for people, So accepting bad things is even worse. And I was diagnosed here in Nigeria, but he was our family doctor, even in the UK, So I'd known him for a while, and I guess because he had known me and my medical history and things like that, he didn't just come to that diagnosis off of a whim, and I started out on medication, citalopram, wasn't good. Had some, so now I currently am on fluoxetine. So I live off of antidepressants, daily I take an antidepressant. I took my antidepressant before I came here today, and I tell people, please, if you're on antidepressants, don't do the things like I've done. 14 years is a long time to take a pill a day, so you start feeling like you're doing better and you don't need it.
And you stop.
Just the same way it is for malaria. And they tell you, even when you feel better, finish your medication, finish your dosage, So until a doctor tells me to stop, I've decided I'm not going to, because I've done that many times over the course of 14 years. But, it explained a whole lot of things, because growing up, I was secluded. I was weird. I thought everybody hated me, My father is my best friend in the world, and I thought my dad even hated me. I thought I didn't think anybody liked me. I didn't think anything was going well for me. I thought I was ugly. I thought there's nothing good I thought about myself. Growing up, I was, my parents tried, because I was a terrible child. Like, in terms of, I wasn't like, naughty or stubborn or anything, but, it was just for someone who grew up around so much love, I couldn't accept it. I didn't want to. I was that child who would stay in the dark constantly. To open my windows was such a problem. I was always in the dark in my room, not really wanting to talk to anybody, not wanting to do anything. So it explained a lot.
So when you shared, because you did mention your dad, when you shared this diagnosis with your family, how did they receive this diagnosis? Because again, you did say that growing up was difficult. You're surrounded by lots of love, but couldn't accept that love, right? So how did that bring some form of, saying some form of answers that, this explains why this happened at this age or this happened at that age? How did they receive that?
Yeah, I think they were able to understand certain things, So I'm going to share this, I didn't share it for a couple of reasons. Number one, because there was a law back in the day that, attempted suicide, was punishable by law. And obviously I didn't want to put that out there, and I hope the statute of limitations on this has gone. If not, I'll go to jail. You visit me there, So I guess the experience I shared wasn't the one that I said happened 3 years ago. It was the last. Yeah, I'm saying that because it would never happen again. It was the last, so let's treat it as it was. But it wasn't the first, it was the third.
Yeah.
So there was an experience before that when I was living in the UK where I just walked in front of a car and I got hit. Wow. And haven't said this anywhere else because I'm not proud of these things. Do you know what I mean? It's not a badge of honor, So I guess getting that diagnosis made sense to my family, because, I was living in the UK. I guess that's what many Nigerians want, right? Nobody really wants to be here these days. I was living in the UK. I guess I just graduated with a first class, and I guess it looked like things were okay. And then, okay, why is this happening? Why, they couldn't marry the two. Even I, who was living this reality, couldn't marry these realities. Do you know what I mean? So I guess it made sense to them when I shared the diagnosis with them.
Yeah. We're still in conversation with Michael Ejoor, Nollywood actor, and we're talking about, the issue or the case of suicide, and I know that a lot of us in Nigeria here is still something that is still widely taboo,
Yes.
and people don't want to talk about it, and people feel like, if you have things going on for you, you're surrounded by love. You mentioned UK how many times? Why should you be suicidal? How do you respond to that? Because people feel like, you should only be in poverty, be in penury, things are not working out for you before you can say that you are suicidal or you have a form of depression. How do you respond to that? And did you deal with people that felt you had everything going on for you? Why are you acting this way? Why are you depressed? Did you deal with those kind of people?
Yesterday I had a meeting at Lagos Mind, which is an arm that the government has set up, which I'm very impressed by, and I feel they're doing great work. I'm actually wearing their badge today, and I'm glad that you said this because the badge says break the stigma. And what you said is stigma. It's like asking someone who has malaria, why do you have malaria? Or which particular mosquito beats you for you to have malaria? I don't want to live like this. I don't. It's even worse that, like, if I break my hand, at least I'm looking at the hand and I understand where the pain is coming from. With mental health issues, you just feel the pain, but you don't know where it's coming from. You can't explain it. And this is the question that I asked them because I was sat in front of counselors, therapists, and things like that in a very large meeting. And I said to them, this question aggravates me. So let me ask you. And I asked them, and I said, why am I depressed? If I'm fine, I guess people would look at me and say, oh, he's doing well. He's had good opportunities. Look at me and say, I'm a Nepo baby, this and that. You have these things going for you. Because that question even annoys me the more because then I begin to feel like, why is this happening, especially with this? It's literally an ailment. That's what it is. You can't explain it. I wake up in the morning and I have to take control of my mind because the first thing that goes through my head is, oh God, another day to go through. Or sometimes on really bad days, I think, oh God, I really wish I had died in my sleep. Every blessed day of my life. This morning when I woke up, I laid down in bed a little bit and I was like, I have to psych myself up. Okay, all right, okay. And I said, okay, you're coming on Jay on Air today and you're going to do a good thing because there's somebody out there that needs to hear what you're going to say. All right, okay, that's something to look forward to today. Let's go ahead, let's do this. Like, I don't want to live like this. I really don't. So that question really gets on my last nerve, especially when it is attached to, you should be grateful. Some people have it worse. How does that help me? How does that help me?
And I want us to, move on to the ray of light, because at the end of the day, this is a story of hope, a story of beauty, a story that, you are not alone in the world. People are going through this and people have survived.
Yes.
Even though we've had people that we've lost, along the way, but we've also had people that have grown old, and dealt with this. But I still want to stay in, say it gets darker before we see the light. I'm paraphrasing here now. I want us to stay in that dark place for a second. And the reason I'm saying that is because I want us to be able to still draw on that. Because when we're having this conversation, I want to make it as real to people. That's the point of this conversation. I want us to talk a bit about, how life was before you actively started dealing with, this suicidal thoughts and depression, and you got on medication, and you got a diagnosis, and you went to the hospital. What were some symptoms, like, if you have malaria now, some symptoms, what were certain things that happened in your life, or that you went through, or that you did when you think back to that time, and only share what you really want to share.
Yeah. One was seclusion. I generally didn't really like being around people. And, didn't really like being around people. Constantly just wanted to be alone. And it's till today, it's still a thing. I generally like darkness. I beg I know be with you. But generally, like, when I'm at home, the lights aren't on. I generally like to be in the dark. But it's a thing. Like, it was worse then. I would sit in the dark all day. Like, my bulbs would go out and I wouldn't even change them because I don't need it. And the curtains are always closed. There's just no zest for life. One big thing was I didn't want to think about tomorrow, so I didn't have any long-term plans. So the worst question you can ask me, what's your 5-year goal? I don't want to be alive tomorrow. Why? I don't really care about a 5-year goal. And as a result of that, I had problems with money. I'm not a very flashy person. I don't really care about, the things that a lot of people care about, So, but when I would ever get money, I just give it away. Oh, this person needs it more, or, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I just never had savings because I just felt like I don't want to see tomorrow. I don't need it, So, and there was a whole lot of overeating, and it would happen. And this happens with a whole lot of people that live with depression. You find a coping mechanism. Yeah, sorry, I was looking for that, and mine was food. You just want to keep doing that thing over and over again because that you found one thing that brings you happiness. And there was one I've not shared as well. You get jazz for mouths. You're just making me share things that I've, cutting myself, And I pride myself in the fact that I don't lie, but that's one thing I lied about. And, I apologize to anybody that I told that my dog scratched me here, which is why I have these, but it's because I used to cut myself a lot, which is why I kind of got tattoos to cover, because I have a lot of, marks on my hand, and I still don't understand the rationale behind it, but I guess, like I was saying, when you have mental pain, because you can't see where it's coming from, every time I put a blade against my hand and I cut myself and I saw blood, it's sort of, I was looking at what's causing me pain and sort of relieved me. I don't understand it. I don't know why I was doing that, but thankfully I haven't done that in about 4 years or so. And I can't imagine myself doing that again, hopefully, so yeah. And there's a host of other things as well.
When you hear yourself say this thing, how do you feel? When you see yourself now and the moment you're having and the fact that you are on air sharing this with millions of people and people that will share this and people that will connect with this, how does this make you feel when you picture the person that you were or the person that you are talking about now? How does this make you feel?
It's a double-edged sword, actually. I feel embarrassed on one edge of the sword. I feel really embarrassed, I feel like I really wish that I was here sharing a different topic, I feel like, I feel sad. I feel sad for, people that love me and have had to go through this process with me, But at the same time, I just feel like, this is a colorful story, G. Because, like I said, I can't imagine these things. Like, I can't imagine picking up anything to cut myself. I can't imagine, like, I'm full of hope now. I never had that before. I wouldn't have approached, like I said to you, even this morning, I wouldn't have approached it that way. I would just be in such a mood and, everything. But I said to myself, well, after I convinced myself, I was so excited to be here. Like, when you text me, I was like, I was super excited to be here today. And there's so much progress. So it just shows me that the road, there's still so much, so far I can go.
Yeah. As this is Suicide Awareness Month, as this Suicide Awareness Month, we're sharing, we're enlightening people. We've spoken about the struggles. Let us now talk to some help, how people can get help, how people can move. Because, I've had people say, I just didn't want to get up from bed. You go to some people's homes and, it's dirty. And I'm not saying it's everybody's house that goes that is dirty that is dealing with depression. But a lot of people that deal with that can't get up from bed, are just in dirty spaces. There's just no zest. And like you mentioned, for life. But more than that, some of them don't even have the resources, to get mental support. Some of them don't even have family support, because maybe if you live in Nigeria, even if your parents are wealthy, and some parents don't understand it, but now think about people that actually, the parents don't understand it and they don't have the financial resources, they don't have any kind of resources. So it makes no sense to them. What kind of support can this kind of people get? I mean, before going to the hospitals and before, speaking to someone about it, and I know those things are necessary, what can you say? What were certain things that you did that helped you to an extent? Yeah.
It's very sad, that there are so many people that don't have family supports, because I can't imagine having gone through the things I've gone through without my family. It's very, very sad, and this is me saying to people out there, you don't have to understand something for you to empathize. You really don't. You don't have to have gone through it for you to feel for someone. Just feel for them and their reality, But in terms of things that I've done, like, thank God for Google, because you can Google these things, and it will come up with so many different things. There's not one shoe for, everyone, but music for me, top tier.
What kind of music do you listen to?
I listen to gospel. Okay. I listen to a lot of gospel, but generally, positive music, things that are upbeat, it just puts you in a different space. I love dancing. So if you play, so it doesn't have to be I would generally go for gospel because, like I said, I love gospel music, but, there are some Davido songs, love Davido. There are some Davido songs that really helped me through, certain things. Like, I remember there was a time where I was going through a thing and I loved listening to, one designer. I love that, and it helped me through that. Do you understand? So music is something that helped me. Then I found out that running helped me as well. I started going for long runs. I'm talking about 10 miles.
Wow.
I'll go for a 10-mile run, just running, have music in my ears, and you're just going and, it helps. So apparently exercise gives endorphins, so that helps you as well, and finding the tiniest thing to focus on that can bring you happiness. The tiniest thing. Could be a TV show, could be a book, but just focus on that thing, push everything else away. Everything. Forget your reality. You could be in the dark. You don't have money to pay your electricity bill. You don't have anything. You don't have anyone. But then you can focus on one little thing and just zone out. It would really help.
This is such a weird question that I want to ask. But as you mentioned music, for some reason, of course, you mentioned the Davido song. I would like for you to sing a song that takes you back to a time, a song that when you sang, maybe just helped you. And a song that brings memories to you. Because I also know that you said you don't sing in church again. Because when I knew you used to sing in church, let me call you out.
Anyway.
Michael Onome Ejoor, the actor, is also a singer. So for those that want to do stage play.
Anyway.
But is there a song like that?
100%.
And I sing a bit of that song.
And I sang this song pretty much almost every day in 2016, because that was the hardest year of my life. I just can't give up now. I've come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me the road would be easy, and I don't believe he's brought me this far to leave me. That song, yeah.
Really?
Every day, every damn day. Every damn day.
Let's talk about something beautiful, right? You have a son.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a question that I framed for that conversation.
Yeah.
But let's talk about your son. How long ago did you have him, and how does that bring joy to your life? Or talk to us about having a son. Did that scare you?
Yeah.
You know, and did that also help you?
Yeah. So, one thing that many people don't know is he's not my biological son, adopted.
Okay.
You know, but he's my world. You know, I don't get to see him as often in more recent times due to personal things that I wouldn't get into, but having someone to live for, you know, really helped me, you know. Yeah. Having someone to live for. He turns 7 next week. Yes, next week.
Let's not be too
And he's so smart, you know. And it's so funny how children just want to be like their parents. Like, I just as a joke, he acted once, and now every day he just wants to act. I'm so proud of him. He was on Big Love, actually.
Okay.
You know, directed by Biodun Steven, and, you know, Bimba Demoye played his mom, and, you know, they get on so well. But having a son brings just so much light, you know, and I can't imagine, you know, which is one of the things that really hurts me, you know. He would have been devastated if 3 years ago, like, I had, you know. So.
Let's talk about the fact that a lot of us, not just in Nigeria, but, you know, because we're here, we have to talk about the Nigerian story, that a lot of us, we just, I have ADHD, I have OCD, I'm depressed. So I saw a post recently and someone said it has almost become a trend where everybody is self-diagnosing themselves. I don't know if you saw that post. I think it was Grand Prince Aita that posted.
Yes.
And it got lots of retweets.
I put it on my story.
People that just say, I have OCD, you know, I'm depressed. You know, what do you say? What do you say to that?
Literally, I put that thing on, and then someone came into my DM, my friend Fatima. Fatima came into my DM and was like, this thing really irks her. And I responded, God, it really gets on my last nerve that if I allowed someone to live with depression that I feel, they will never claim any one of these things again in your life. Trust me, you don't have OCD, you just like things to be organized. You just are a clean person, which you should be. You should just roll on the armpits, you know. So yes, you should be a clean person. You don't. Obsessive compulsive disorder, trust me, you could be in the middle of your sleep and then you will get up and go and start locking all your doors. It's not something you want. Trust me. I've seen people who have OCD, like actual diagnosed OCD, like they'll be at work and they could be shaking that.
Could have panic attacks.
Yes. That, oh my God, I left my doors open. Somebody's robbing my house, you know, or something like that. Or you have to lock something 7 times before, if not, you have to go back to it or something like that. Or ADHD. ADHD is not, they give people extra time in schools and things like that because of ADHD and stuff like that. It's not something that you should claim. You just have a short attention span. That's normal. It happens to a whole lot of people. Or when you're uninterested in something, you are just uninterested in it. You are not. I don't know why we're all diagnosing ourselves, and it's just like, you know, it's a cool thing now. Oh, yeah, my anxiety will not let me. May you never have anxiety in Jesus' name. May you not have it.
But at the same time, there are also people that, you know, are going to school, maybe they do have ADHD and teachers are flogging them, you know, as opposed to them giving them the help that they need. So what would you say, what help do we need to ensure that people that actually deal with mental health issues, especially children, you know, actually get the help that they need? What can parents do? What can adults do? What can uncles and aunties and just people listening? What can everybody do to just ensure that everybody around them, you know, gets help that they need, even though they've not actually gotten like a doctor's diagnosis?
Yeah. See, there's no other way to know what's going on with a person, especially mentally, without a medical diagnosis. There's literally no way. No way whatsoever. Because at one point I thought that, I had bipolar disorder. When I was diagnosing myself, I thought I had diagnosed, but you know, it was clinical depression. You know, you just do not know. So without these things, but the only thing that I can say to people is try and be more lenient. You know, there are children out there who actually have ADHD. You know, there are teenagers who are in what I'd like to call a pre-depressive state. you know, and all these things. You just have to be a bit more lenient, especially when it comes to education. Not everybody is going to have A's. You know, sometimes it's just that there are people who are better with their hands than with their mind. There are people who were born to be musicians, to be actors. There are people like me who have a first-class degree, who went to the London School of Economics, and I ain't using it to do nothing. I'm not using it to do anything. So you see me now and want to force me because I am smart to do something. But I know that I'm doing what exactly I should be doing. So we just have to be more lenient with people and understand that education isn't a function of brilliance. It's a function of learning. It's for impacting. It's just that now we've come to this place where we started ranking everything. But education ideally shouldn't be a thing of rank. Let us all just learn. Test. Have you actually learned it? We don't know who has come first, who have come anything. And you learn and you move on. Because till tomorrow, wait till you don't use almighty formula do. Wait till you use and do.
This is a person.
Oh. But look at you. Look at you. Come on.
So what's the next? What's up next for Michael? This 2025 is historic for you.
Yeah.
You know, but what's next? What do you plan to do next? Not just in acting, but just generally. I feel like you now have such a huge voice when it comes to mental health, and people will look up to you. Yeah. You know, it may not be something you thought was going to happen, but you know, people are always looking for a role model or someone to mentor them. So just generally, what are your next plans? Anything you can share? Say big projects coming. Are you going to be the next Mr. Nigeria? You know, what's the plan?
Definitely. Well, first of all, I'm an actor first. There's going to be loads of acting. You know, there's so many different projects, you know. Fun fact, I've not shot outside of Lagos before, and I'm excited that I get to go to Abuja. Wow. You know, it's just Abuja, but I get to go to Abuja to shoot, and I'm excited about that. You know, I haven't been, you know, and I'm doing that 3 times next month. Wow. You know, I'm going to come back to Lagos, shoot something. I'm in Abuja, go back again, come back. You know, it's amazing that I get to do that. You know, so there's going to be a whole lot of acting. You know, there's a project coming up that both of us,
you know, yes,
are in. Can't say anything more than that. But you see how I hesitated? I was like, hey, Godo, am I breaking NDA? But we can say that. We can say that. And I'm excited to act alongside, you know, on a project. And, you know, so there's a whole lot of acting, but, you know, there's a whole lot of mental health advocacy. So much, you know, so much so that it even scares me when I looked at a host of things, you know, and, you know, I'm going to be doing a whole lot of talks, you know, walks, awareness, you know, and I'm really glad. I know I spoke about Lagos Mind earlier, but I'm really glad because they're such a great team. You know, I'm so glad that I get to do this with Lagos Mind, really and truly. But it's not just about Lagos. It starts here because this is where I live, and I'm keen on, you know, impacting my surroundings before, you know, moving to greater territories. But I'm hoping that I can, you know, impact people and, you know, get people to just break the stigma, like I said. You know, I'm not crazy. I don't belong in the Abba left, you know, all these things. We have to get people to understand these things, you know, get more empathy. But you're also going to see Michael, the host.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to see that. Let's just say that I'm in talks to host a game show. Okay. And I'm super excited about that, you know. I've always wanted to host a show right from when I was a teenager. So we get to see that. And I think I'll be good at it.
Yeah, I think so as well. You're living your dreams. So thank God that you're living your dreams. And thank you so much for coming through. This was such a fun conversation. I know that so many people are just going to go back to this and just, you know, this is going to feel like a warm hug, you know, to them. So thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you.
And I always wrap up the show with Jay Steak. You've heard from Michael. You know, Michael is doing everything that he's doing now because Michael, you know, somehow stayed. So my word to you is just stay. You know, the future has so many beautiful things waiting for you. So please just stay. And for people that are around people that are dealing with some form of depression, suicidal thought, like Michael said, you need to show more love. We need to be more kind to people, whether they're dealing with depression or not. We just live in a world that is filled with so much hate right now, and we need to end that cycle. We have organizations like Mentally Aware. We have, you know, hospitals. We're going to get all the details. Share that in this episode so that you can get all the help that you need. We have G on Air Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 6 p.m. right here on 88.5 UFM, and of course streaming on YouTube, G on Air TV. So please ensure you stream and keep sharing. Thank you again, Michael, for coming through.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
This fantastic episode was brought to you by friends at Credit Direct. All right. If you're looking for a way to grow money, to invest money, just to ensure that SACPA doesn't SACPA you, Credit Direct is the way to go. Like I always say, I use it personally, and it's a fantastic app. But one thing I also want to highlight is that customer service is fantastic. You know how you can reach out to certain Nigerian banks, they will not really answer you, they will not really deal with your issue. That is not what Credit Direct does. Credit Direct answers whatever issues that you have. So if I were you, I'll go to Google Play, go to App Store, download Credit Direct today, and come back and say, Jay, thank you very much. And you know what I'll say? I'll say, you're welcome.